Midnight on the high plains was not simply a time of night. It was a living thing, vast, breathing, watching. The wind slid across the grasslands like a whispering spirit, rattling the loose boards of Elias Crow's ranch house. Carrying with it the smell of frost and distant pine, Elias had been awake, as he often was, sitting at the small wooden table beneath the dim glow of an oil lamp, his calloused hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. Sleep rarely visited widowers, not when silence had learned to speak in the voice of loss. The house still remembered her. Mary's laughter lingered in the corners. Her footsteps echoed in the hallway, and every creak of wood reminded him of a life that once was whole. He stared at the wall where her shawl used to hang, lost in that familiar ache, when the knock came, soft, hesitant, almost swallowed by the wind. Elias frowned. No one came out this far at midnight. He stood, boots heavy on the floor, heart suddenly alert, and the knock came again. 3 small taps, fragile but urgent. He opened the door, and there she stood, a little girl no more than 6, hair braided but fraying at the ends, cheeks red from cold, eyes wide with fear and determination. Snow clung to the hem of her thin dress. She looked impossibly small against the darkness. Elias crouched instinctively, his voice low and careful, asking where her parents were, why she was out alone. Her lip trembled as she whispered words that cut through him, sharper than any blade. "Mama needs help." Something in her voice carried more than fear, it carried hope, the kind only children still believed in. Elias grabbed his coat without a second thought, lifting the lantern from its hook. He asked where her home was, and she pointed into the darkness beyond the fields, toward the old timber road that few used anymore. The rancher hesitated only long enough to light another lantern and set it by the door, a habit born of storms and long nights. "Every light is a promise," Mary used to say. He took the girl's small hand, surprised by how cold it was, and together they stepped into the night. As they walked, the wind grew louder, snow beginning to fall in earnest, swirling like restless ghosts around their feet. The girl stumbled once, and Elias lifted her without hesitation, her head resting against his shoulder, her breath shallow but steady. She told him in broken whispers about her mama, how she had fallen, how she wouldn't wake, how the fire had gone out. Each word tightened Elias's chest. He knew the dangers of winter isolation, knew how quickly hope could freeze. When the old cabin finally appeared, half hidden among skeletal trees, Elias felt a weight settle in his gut. The door was ajar, the inside dark. He set the girl down and lit the lantern higher, calling out, his voice echoing against the wood. Inside, he found the woman lying near the hearth, pale and unmoving, breath shallow but present. He moved fast, stoking the fire, wrapping her in blankets, speaking calmly even as his heart thundered. The girl watched with silent trust, as if this stranger had become her last miracle. Outside, Elias ran back and forth, lighting every lantern he owned, hanging them on posts, fence rails, even tree branches, turning the lonely clearing into a beacon of gold against the black night. Light meant life. Light meant someone could find them if help was needed. As the fire warmed the cabin and color slowly returned to the woman's face, Elias felt something stir within him, something long buried beneath grief, purpose. When the woman finally coughed, eyes fluttering open, the girl rushed to her side, tears spilling freely now, and Elias turned away, blinking hard. The night was still cold, still vast, but it no longer felt empty, and as the lanterns burned steadily outside, Elias Crow stood in their glow, unaware that this midnight knock had just reignited a life he thought was forever extinguished. If this moment already has you holding your breath, remember, stories like this live and grow with your support. Subscribe to the channel and keep the lantern lit for more powerful tales of hope, humanity, and unexpected miracles. Morning came slowly, as if the sun itself hesitated to disturb what had begun in the night. The lantern still burned low when Elias stepped outside, frost crunching beneath his boots, steam rising from his breath. He looked back at the cabin, smoke curling gently from the chimney now, a sign of life where there had nearly been none. Inside, the woman, her name was Anna, slept under layered blankets, her breathing stronger, color blooming faintly in her cheeks. The little girl, Lily, sat at the table clutching a tin cup of warm milk, her eyes following Elias everywhere he moved, afraid perhaps that if she stopped watching, he might vanish like a dream. Elias knelt to her level and promised he wasn't going anywhere. And for the first time in years, he meant it in a way that surprised even himself. As daylight revealed the land, Elias took in the state of the property: fences broken, supplies scarce, isolation more severe than he had realized in the dark. Anna had been trying to manage alone since her husband died the previous winter, pride and fear keeping her from asking for help until the night her strength failed. Elias listened quietly as she spoke later, her voice weak but steady, the truth unfolding between pauses. He recognized the pain in her words, the stubborn resolve to survive, the quiet grief that settled into bones. It mirrored his own. Over the following days, Elias returned again and again, bringing food, repairing what he could, teaching Lily how to feed the chickens properly, listening to her laughter ring across the yard like music he had forgotten existed. The ranch house that once echoed with silence now held warmth. Again, not the same warmth as before, but something new, something honest. Neighbors, drawn by the story of lanterns burning all night, began to visit, offering help. Supplies, company. Light had a way of spreading. Anna recovered slowly, each step forward a victory. And in those moments by the fire, she and Elias spoke of loss without needing many words. Grief recognized grief, and yet alongside it, hope took root, not loud or dramatic, but steady as the sunrise. One evening, weeks later, as the wind hummed its familiar song, Lily tugged Elias's sleeve and asked why he had lit every lantern that night. He thought of Mary, of promises made long ago, and he answered simply, because no one should face the dark alone. Lily smiled, as if that answer was enough to carry her through a lifetime. As spring edged closer, the ranch no longer felt like a place frozen in time. It breathed again. Elias stood one night beneath the stars, lantern in hand, realizing that while he had saved a life, his own had been quietly returned to him as well. This story is not just about a knock at midnight, it's about what happens when we choose compassion over fear, action over hesitation, light over darkness. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that hope still exists even in the coldest moments, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. Every subscription is another lantern lit, another story told, another reminder that humanity shines brightest when we show up for one another.